Hi everyone, it's Grillo from Nintendo Planet. Today I want to talk about are Nintendo games incomplete, not complete, incomplete, whatever you want to call it, just not done, not finished, and they're being rushed, perhaps rushed for a couple of these games, but I'm not going to go ahead and say they're not done or they're incomplete. Lately, there's been a lot of people basically stating that Nintendo is half-assing their games, or they're not completing their games, they're incomplete. And there's been a few games that people always bring up in particular. I've seen it in social media, I've heard it in my inner circles from friends, colleagues, co-workers, and that sort of stuff. One of the examples that I can bring up is ARMS. That game was released in 2017, same year the Switch was released. And that game was very short. I mean, it's a fighting game. So what do you kind of expect? Sometimes most fighting games are really short, if not even shorter. There's a few exceptions, but for the most part, you just fight and fight and fight, unlock a couple things, and then you're pretty much done with the game. It's not like an RPG. It's not like an adventure game or a platformer or collect this or collect that type of stuff. But that game had a pretty small roster, and then Nintendo went ahead and they added 5 DLC fighters. And all 5 DLC fighters that came out for that game actually came out the same year the game released. Game released in 2017, and all 5 DLC fighters came out that same year. And along with those 5 DLC fighters, of course, they each come with their respective stages, arenas, their course basically. So there was basically 5 DLC characters and 5 stages where you can fight at now. So that, that made the game better. It just adds more content. But the game mechanically was good. It controlled well, it handled well, it played well. I didn't have any issues with it, and I really don't hear too many bad things about the game. It's actually a very underrated game, and it's actually solid, and it's an amazing game. It actually had a lot of modes as well. One of the most creative modes, like I said, I love the basketball mode, where you can basically dunk your opponent, dunk them a certain number of times, I guess, and then you win. The volleyball mode was also cool. There's also, can't remember what its name is. I think it's the headlock. I haven't played this game in a long time, but it's basically when you turn into, I guess, the headlock. I can't remember the name, but you basically have 4 arms instead of 2. That's actually really cool as well. So the game, the gameplay was amazing. It was maybe short in content, especially when it was released, yes, but I don't think the game was incomplete. But a lot of people will say, hey, those 5 DLC characters released in the same calendar year, 2017, perhaps they just held them back. It could be a possibility, or perhaps it wasn't, perhaps, that was, the game was complete and they just added to it after the fact. So moving on from ARMS, another example would be Mario Tennis Aces. Same thing. When the game first came out, they didn't have enough content, but then they released various DLC characters such as Pauline, Diddy Kong, Kamek. They even added a new game mode called Ring Shot. They added a few other DLC characters. It's not a game I really played too much. I do have it, but tennis wasn't really so much of my thing, but I do have it. Another game was Mario Party. It released with very little content, very little boards, and no online. And then online was added years after the game released. It actually just got added, I think, a few months ago, online play. So that game took forever to even add anything at all. Maybe there's one game that we can complain from those that I've listed is probably Mario Party, because that game is so fun. The potential is there, but they basically didn't add as much content as they should have. And now let's talk about Mario Golf Super Rush. Now this game just came out. This game is amazing. I'm surprised that the Metacritic score is only in the low 70s. I think when I last checked it was 73, because that game deserves to be higher in my opinion. It actually came out June 25. It's June 29 today, so 4 days ago. That game is amazing. So they added new game modes. They've added speed golf. They went ahead and added battle golf as well. They actually added an adventure mode. I mean, the handhelds basically had that already. And you know, it's kind of like an RPG. You start with your me. You actually level yourself up. And then the roster is actually pretty good too. And it actually has online play. One of the things people are going to complain about is that it doesn't have the invite system that Mario Party has. But I don't think that's on Nintendo. That's on Camelot. They're the ones who did the game. I don't know why they didn't include it. But it's something that can be patched in. So maybe they'll add it in the near future. But if you have friends to play the game with, or just play it online, I mean... But it's better with friends. It's always better with friends. If you have friends to play the game with, it's fun. It's an amazing experience. I love speed golf. I love battle golf. Now, the only problem I'm going to say for now is that it's kind of short in content as well. It only has 6 courses. And here's the problem. The problem is that during E3, Nintendo teased DLC for Mario Golf Super Rush. And then that's always going to lead, you know, people when it's going to start a debate whether the game is incomplete, unfinished, or whatever the case is. And that's what happens when you announce DLC right before the game released. They're going to be saying, is this part of the game? Did it get cut? You know, so I can see where those people come from as well. But either way, Nintendo announced that the DLC will be free. They showed a sample of New Donk City. They stated new courses and playable characters are coming. Now it's just a waiting game. We just gotta wait, see when they're gonna come, and see if, you know, they're all gonna be released in the same year. See if we'll get game modes as well, not just get characters and courses. But the game is solid. Trust me, the game is solid. It's fun. They added new mechanics. Also, when you're playing standard golf, they've added this mechanic where all the players can swing at the same time. That way, you know, the game doesn't prolong or take too long that way. But the game is fantastic. I'll be playing that game this weekend. Has 16 characters. It's a diverse character roster. There's characters that we haven't seen in other games. And I like that, how they bring the variety. I like how they added Pauline. I mean, Pauline was in the tennis game as well, Tennis Aces, but I'm glad they added her into golf as well. She was added into the Mario Kart mobile game as well. They've added Charging Chuck, who came out in 3D World. So I'm just happy that they're putting in new characters, fresh faces. But it's an amazing game. I think the game deserves a higher score than the 73 is currently sitting at. Just to recap, what I want to say is, no, I don't believe the games are incomplete, but I do believe and I do agree that they may be lacking content. They could be longer, but that's pretty much it. You know, the games are solid, they play well, they're fun. It's not an incomplete game, it just needs more content. It just comes down to that. And then there's also the possibility, well, I mean, not the possibility, but you can also always wait for the game to get the DLC added. So when you play it day one, it has a lot more content in it and you will enjoy it better. But for those of you who just want to enjoy the game and have a fun time, especially with the battle golf and the speed golf, I'll say just get it now. It's a fun game. That's pretty much it for today. Thank you very much for watching my video. Please subscribe. Leave me any comments you may have, whether positive, negative. You suck, Grillo. That's okay. I'll take it as a learning experience. Thank you. Have a great day.